Is Carson Beck good enough to take Miami to the playoffs this season? A well-known recruiting analyst believes that he is, but he doesn't think that he has enough weapons to work with.
I don't think there's enough weapons around him to really get them over the hump and really truly compete for a national title.
Is he right or is he wrong? What's going on, Canes fans? This statement was made on a show late last week by Tom Loy. Now, really, the name is unimportant, but I do want to discuss this a little bit. And there was actually a guy beside him during the show that agreed with him. He said the same thing. He said Miami is not going to make it to the college football playoffs in 2025, but his reason was because of Mario Cristobal.
But my problem is Mario Cristobal.
So after watching this little segment of the show, it got me thinking, are these guys crazy? Because my initial knee-jerk reaction is, yeah, of course they are. They have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to Miami Hurricanes football. But then after a few minutes, I try to be open-minded and attempt to sit my Canes fandom to the side, which, trust me, is not a very easy thing to do, but I try to do it. And there was another side of me that said, you know what? In a lot of ways, they're not wrong. But I want to dive a little bit deeper into it and actually talk about it. So hold your comments here for just a moment. Let me explain. And I want to take it back to the first statement here, which was Carson Beck doesn't have enough weapons to truly compete for a national title. I think the issue that I have here with this statement is just the way that it's worded. I think a better way to say this is that he doesn't have enough proven weapons. Obviously, emphasis there on proven. So in a way, he's not completely wrong, depending on how you want to look at this. Because when looking at the wide receiver, tight end, and running back positions for Miami going into this season, there is a lot of promising talent, but the majority of those guys haven't seen many snaps at the college level yet, at least not in actual games. Now, obviously, Mark Fletcher is an exception. That's some proven production returning on offense this season, but we'll take Jordan Lyle and use him as an example. This is a guy that is very talented. We saw some brief flashes from him in 2024, and most Canes fans believe that he will have a great career at Miami, that he's capable of some really great things. But the reality is he hasn't seen the field a whole lot just yet. He's still somewhat younger, and it's just yet to be seen. He's not proven yet. We have to see how he looks once his workload is increased. And don't take this as a knock on the Miami Hurricanes, because obviously I believe that they are capable of great things, but I'm also level-headed enough and willing to take a step back and look at this thing with an open mind and say, in a lot of ways, I do understand where they're coming from. I wish that they just would have worded it a bit differently, because it's not like on the offensive side of the ball that Miami at wide receiver, running back, and tight end is just loaded with juniors and seniors, guys that have seen a ton of playing time on the field on game day. So there's just a little bit of a question mark there. There's a bit of unknown. The wide receiver room is in a similar position. Tons of potential. Trader, Carr, Robinson, Moore, Tony, Upshaw, Ray. And of course, Ray has been here a little bit longer, but still hasn't seen the field very much. CJ Daniels would be the exception there in that group, but he's coming off of an injury. At tight end, Miami probably has one of the most versatile guys we've seen in a long time with Elijah Lofton, but the exact same argument. We got to see how he does once he starts receiving more snaps this season, and more snaps he will definitely receive. Now, I will say that if those guys can step up and do their part, and the chemistry is there with Carson Beck, you factor in several returning guys on the offensive line, there is obviously a large amount of potential there. And to be real, most of us Canes fans are hoping that Heatherman can come in and fix what was the number one problem in the 2024 season, which was the defense. So many opposing teams' fans jumped in the comment section under that video and on social media, and the majority of them seemed to agree with a statement that I saw someone post on there, which was something along the lines of, if Miami couldn't make it to the college football playoffs with Cam Ward, the number one quarterback in the country, there's absolutely no way that they can make it there in 2025 with Carson Beck because he's a downgrade.
You are made of stupid.
And here's what's so silly about that statement. That would, in fact, be true if everything carried over and remained the exact same from season to season, not only for Miami, but every team in the country. Miami might not even need the number one offense in 2025 to make it to the college football playoffs. I mean, really might not have even needed it in 2024 if the defense would have even just been okay. And, you know, when you see some of these teams that made it into the college football playoffs, a lot of them, their offenses weren't necessarily out of this world. What's funny is that every single season is a different monster, and things just aren't quite that simple. It doesn't work like that. So whenever I see people make that statement, it just cracks me up. But moving on to the other gentleman's statement, which was Miami could have the talent, but they won't make it to the CFP because of one big reason: Mario Cristobal. And the reality with this one is Mario Cristobal just has to prove the haters wrong here. I mean, I personally don't give him a pass for anything that he's screwed up since he's been here at Miami, but I will say this, and you can sit here and try to label me as a fanboy or whatever you want to do, but I've been very critical of Mario Cristobal. I've made it known that he's made some boneheaded mistakes on game day. He's not made the best decisions when it comes to hiring guys and bringing them in, you know, to form this staff here. However, it is a fact that he has won more games every single season that he's been here at Miami. You literally can't deny that. 5 wins, 7 wins, 10 wins. But I'm telling you that year 4 will be more important than ever for Mario Cristobal, because now that he hit that 10-win mark, the double-digit win season, the overall general fan is minimum, most likely, I can't speak for everyone, but going to expect that or more in 2025, which most likely means an ACC championship game appearance. If, of course, things continue to trend up in a positive way. Yeah, I know that this year's schedule looks tougher than last year on paper, but honestly, that's an excuse. It's time to get over that hurdle. If Miami is, in fact, continuing to build, they need to be able to compete with the big boys, and a little bit tougher of a schedule should not be an issue. And again, anyways, right now, that's all on paper. Do you know how many of the teams in 2024 looked like they were going to be better than they were? And it ended up hurting our strength of schedule because they just weren't that great. But as far as agreeing or disagreeing with this guy's statement, I'm assuming that he's factoring in all of the things, you know, as we said, that have been mismanaged on game days with Mario Cristobal, along with everything Miami had in 2024 and them still not getting into the college football playoffs. So I know what he means. He probably just needs to see it to believe it, which is understandable. I really can't hate on him for that. It just takes me back to what I said before. Mario Cristobal just has to prove those guys wrong, and he has to show that he can continue to win more and more football games the longer he's here at Miami. And you would like to hope that getting rid of Guidry was the right move, but you're pushing the reset button a little bit on defense with bringing in Heatherman. You know, we want to think that it can't get any worse, but that's just not how life works. But hopefully Heatherman, different mentality, different scheme, can come in and it will be better. But Mario Cristobal does definitely need to just shut everybody up. And at the very least, man, make it to the ACC championship game. And as we saw in 2024, depending on how everything plays out, you could possibly even lose it and still be in the college football playoffs. It just depends. And at the end of the day, I'm actually okay with the doubt from the media, because it really doesn't matter as long as you win. So let me know down in the comment section below if you feel like they're disrespecting the Miami Hurricanes, if you feel like that there's no love for these receivers or running backs or tight ends, given the way that they worded that statement, or do you think that they're right? Because it's okay to be a fan, but also be super critical and say, hey, there's a lot of guys on this team that aren't proven yet. I'm not buying it. Or maybe you say, I just have to see it. We're not even going to have the luxury of seeing Carson Beck throwing the ball to these receivers during spring because he's not expected to participate, at least at this time. So we're not even going to get to see that, man. It's going to be the battle for QB2, and we don't even get to see Carson Beck until later on. So it's going to be a bit of a surprise. All we have is the sample of Carson Beck at Georgia. And yes, he had a little bit lesser of a year in 2024, but there are a lot of factors going into that. So I get where they're coming from, but I'm actually relatively hype on this year at this point in time. And I'm not going to make any predictions, but I feel pretty good. We'll have to see it. I got to see it. They got to prove it to me. Kind of that same thing like we did in 2024. Wait and see approach, and we'll just see what happens. But let me know your thoughts. Don't be shy. Remember, though, guys, we're all one big happy college football family. But at the end of the day, I got to say, it's always better when you get to rep the U. Coach Coop, peace out. I'll see y'all in the next one.